sponsors, precisionhydration.com.
Leaders in triathlete sweat testing and hydration with multi-strength electrolytes that match how you sweat. You can get 15% off with the code Oxygenaddict15.
And Team Oxygen Addict.
Event-specific training plans, coaching guidance from Coach Rob Wilby, and supportive teammates in a private Facebook group.
Cool, and welcome to the show this week of the 28th of August 2017 as we're recording now. Lots of incredible racing going on, but the big news is, Helen, it didn't rain here in the UK this weekend where we were.
Well, and we had a bank holiday, so I'm really confused because we usually record the podcast on a Monday, and it feels like a Sunday, and it just feels really strange.
Yeah, it does a bit. I went out for a run first thing this morning and there was nobody else around. Mind you, it was pretty early, but I was like, where's all the usual traffic? Oh, it's a bank holiday.
Yeah, it was all on the M6.
Oh, was it beastly again? Friday looked like a horror show. Are you stuck in that?
It was pretty slow. This is like one of the main motorways in the UK, and it's pretty much, it's got a section on it now which you have to go 30 miles an hour. I mean, 50 is bad enough, but 30, you're having a blooming joke. So yeah, going down was pretty slow, but we packed up early doors this morning, and we had an all right journey back up actually, but oh man, going the other way, so if you were heading south today, around Holmes Chapel, Knutsford kind of way, what a nightmare. Jammed, I tell you, jammed.
I think that's why house prices in Knutsford are so high, because people just give up hope and pull off and buy a place to live there.
Honestly, ridiculous. But yeah, we had a good bank holiday with glorious weather, and we cracked the tent out for the first time this year.
Good. I cracked out the TT bike for the first time this year.
Really?
Yeah, I went out for a little test ride. I went full chopper, Helen. I had deep section front, disc wheel on the back, aero helmet on. Yep, I was that guy training with all the gear and no idea.
Oh, why did you go for a disc wheel when you were training?
I wanted to make sure it was all working fine. I had a whole morning of maintenance, changed the cassette, changed the chain, and you know what my maintenance skills are like. So I wanted to make sure things weren't gonna, fall off like that scene in Forrest Gump where he runs along and the braces come off his legs. So took everything out, make sure the gears worked, make sure it didn't scrape against the disc cover. It's all great.
Is this because you want to use it more? Is this because you're doing a race, or is this because you're wanting to sell it?
I am going to race Helvellyn this coming weekend. I'm going to race. I'm going to go and slug my way around. But yeah, it's going to be good fun.
Yep. I love this.
Andy
Rob's actually doing a race. Down.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to say I'm racing, Hals. I'm going to say I'm going to drag my sorry backside around, but it's going to be good fun. I've got to say, there is something about getting the old race kit on, getting the fancy shoes on your race bike and getting out there in the TT position. Very enjoyable.
Love it. Oh, I'm glad you've got the love back.
I got some pretty amused looks from the packs of Sunday riders coming the other way as I came by with my disc wheel and aero helmet on. But you know what? I don't care. Well,
that's good. That's good.
Care. I'm good. King Chopper and I don't care.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah, good. Right, come on, let's do some real results, right? And there's all kinds of exciting stuff to happen this weekend. So, first thing to shout out about is the results are sponsored by our friends Precision Hydration at precisionhydration.com. As we already mentioned, you can get 15% off the products there with the code Oxygenaddict15. And when it's hot and sunny like it was this weekend, I tell you what, Hells, they saved my bacon this weekend. I've done 3 rides in 3 days. First one, Rob, what is happening? This is just insane. 3 rides in 3 days. 5 hours Friday.
Nothing like panic
Saturday.
Training.
Yeah. 5 hours, 6 hours, and then an hour and a half on the TT bike. But first day, just water in the bottle. Very, very thirsty when I got back. Couldn't stop drinking all afternoon. Thought, something's not right here. Put the old Precision Hydration in on Saturday. It was golden. I felt great when I got back. So it's the key for me. And if you're a salty sweater or a heavy sweater, they are the guys to go to. So get over to precisionhydration.com. Use the code Oxygenaddict15 for 15% off, and you can take that online sweat test to find out what kind of recommendations they'll give you specific to the triathlon that you're doing. How's that then? Pretty good, huh?
I'm still a bit in shock that you've been out on your bike 3 times in 3 days. That's just mental.
We rode to Wales on Saturday.
So I hear. Down the
Yeah.
road where I grew up. I saw a little photo of a coffee shop I have never actually been in, but I know well. Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely. That
It's
if
great,
I could
isn't it?
remember the name of it. Do you happen to remember the name of it? We could give them a plug because it was so good.
Isn't it Cleopatra's?
There you go. I don't
In
know
Holt.
where the heck it is.
It's Holt. It's
literally just over the border, isn't it?
correct. Just inside
Outskirts of
the
Wrexham somewhere.
Yep. Outskirts of Wrexham, sort of, I don't know, be near Wrexham Industrial Estate-ish, down the road a little bit. So yeah, Cleopatra's Cafe in Holt. There you go.
Loved it. I have to say, we had a really nice. Didn't want to get back, mainly because I was knackered, but didn't want to get back up on the bikes. We were having a great time. Little
nice.
cafe at the back. It was great.
Oh, it's a nice part of the world. Anyway, Rob, let's start.
Let's do it. Yeah, come on. Some actual results.
Yep. So let's start at WTF Stockholm, which was taking place this weekend, and we can say that Johnny Brownlee returned to winning ways again, but also, Rob, I love this one, especially when I saw it, because I was out of the loop reception-wise over the weekend, but playing catch-up, and Jess Learmont was second, which is ace. So she got her first WTS podium, and I think, you know, when we spoke to her, she's just so down to earth, and you can almost imagine her saying afterwards, she was like, I can't even believe, I can't believe I'm on the podium. She said, I never thought I would, so hopefully I'll get a few more now. And she said that Ashley Gentle was closing the gap. She's like a gazelle. So in the end, she finished, I think, 12 seconds ahead of Ashley Gentle of Australia, and Flora Duffy took the win. So she will go into the grand final, Rob, in Rotterdam, which is in a couple of weeks, with her 5th win of the season under her belt, which is pretty insane, isn't it?
It really is. I tell you what, though, Jess is going to take some confidence in what a time to do a race like that just a couple of weeks before the grand final. She'll be super confident, won't she, going in now?
Totally. And you know, the thing, as Jess spoke to us, was that she is an amazing swimmer, and she's an Uber biker as well. And then it's the run where I think she would probably admit that is her previously, definitely it's her weaker point. So they did chase her down a little bit on the run, and obviously Ashley Gentle got to within 12 seconds of her, but to bag that win,
it's a long way, that though, isn't it? It's still the business end of 100 meters on the track. If you think it sounds like not much, but that's a solid second.
Oh yeah, not saying otherwise. So
Come on, Jess.
Brilliant.
No pressure, just go out there and stick it to him in the final.
Brilliant result for Jess. And then Ali Brownlee, Rob, sorry,
Johnny
I don't mean
Brownlee,
Ali. He's
Ali.
Johnny Brownlee. Ali's recovering still from hip surgery. Mr. Johnny Brownlee getting that win, so good to see him back on the top of the podium.
Yeah, do you fancy him for the title in 2 weeks as well?
No.
Oh, really?
He hasn't gone. No, I don't fancy him.
Not the overall, but I mean the race.
Oh, in Rotterdam. Oh yeah, he could absolutely get that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know what you mean. It's kind of funny that you can win the race, but not the series, isn't it?
Yeah, because Mario Mola, I think he just needs to finish 5th. Yeah. So then he'll get his second straight World Triathlon Series world title. So yeah, and Rob, there was a massive sprint finish between. I'm telling you right now, Christian Blumenfeld is actually my favourite triathlete, the Norwegian guy. Yeah, love him. So yeah,
why? What makes him your favourite?
Oh, he's just like, I love the way he races.
Love it.
And he just literally doesn't give up. I remember watching, it must have been Japan, because I was at work and it was silly o'clock in the morning, and you're thinking, oh, he's out of it now. And it's like, no, he's not. He comes back. And it just looks like a really kind of happy guy when he's racing. So yeah, Christian Blumenfeld and Pierre Lecour of France had a photo finish for second, and they finished with the same time, 1:49.28, but Blumenfeld was given the silver.
Yay for Helen's favourite. Love it.
There you go. And Tom Bishop as well got 6th, so impressive again from him.
And it wasn't the only World Championships going on this weekend, because there were all kind of ITU World Championships going over at the World Championship Triathlon Festival over in Penticton in Canada.
Yeah, that's right. So for the first time, they were bringing a lot of the ITU events together. So previously, they might have had, the World Aquathlon Championships in one place, and then long distance somewhere else, and aquathlon somewhere else. So yeah, they were bringing it all together in a kind of week of multi-sport joy, basically, in Penticton, where it was pretty hot, Rob. I think mid-30s on the run, so stinking hot out there for everyone. But yeah, Lionel Sanders still the man to beat this year, and he's already had some impressive results, and this was another one because he actually got a puncture, didn't he?
He did. He punctured and still got himself the third fastest bike split of the day, even having had a puncture. So I don't know how long it takes to change a puncture, but even if you do it quick, it's got to be 2 minutes, hasn't it? It's probably more like 4. So to still ride the third best bike split and then run, what we were talking about this before the show, weren't we? 1:45 off the bike, came off with a 6-minute deficit, ran Josh Amberger down, and that's 3 back-to-back 35-minute 10Ks. That's just amazing.
It is, isn't it? And when you put it like that, because we can all relate to a 10K.
What you were going to say? We can all run a 35-minute 10K.
No, definitely not. No way. Far from it. But we can think, gee whiz, like 35 minutes for one 10K is good.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, that is amazing. So he's still looking.
Is he your pick, like he is mine, for the half Ironman World Championships or the 70.3 World Championships in 2 weeks' time?
I think it would be difficult to beat him.
He's been incredibly consistent this year, hasn't he? Lovely guy, raced so well. I had a little list up before of the 70.3s he's won this year, and I can't find it now. But it's like a whole paragraph of the 70.3s he's won this year.
Oh, so Pucon, Buenos Aires, Oceanside, Mont Tremblant, second behind Ali Brownlee at St. George, and then he won, didn't he, the Challenge Championship in Slovakia. So that's quite a CV for 2017, isn't it?
Well, he said, didn't he, in that interview we did with him earlier in the year, he was going to take this year to really concentrate on becoming the best 70.3 athlete, and I'm just looking forward to seeing that race out in Chattanooga.
Should be cool.
Should be cool. That with a Newcastle accent, but there we are.
Don't worry. Lionel Sanders got the win in 5:20 ahead of Josh Amberger in 5:22 and Joe Gambles in 5:26. And
women's race was Sarah Crowley in 5:51, Hella Fredrickson in 5:55, and Heather Wurtell also in 5:55. Sorry, I cut you off there, didn't I?
No, that's all right. I was going to say Mark Buckingham had pretty impressive couple of days. He said he was attempting 3 World Championships in 9 days in August, and he came away with an 8th, a 5th, and a 3rd. And then he says, I'm super happy. Maybe I'll learn to ride a mountain bike for next year.
Good lad. That's a great week's work, isn't it? I just noticed Drew Scott's there in 5th as well, so it's really good to see he made a comeback from his broken collarbone he had? Or broken back, wasn't it?
One or the other.
I think he had both, actually, over the course of a season. When we spoke to him, I think he'd been knocked off his bike and fractured some vertebrae.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's brilliant to see him come back and to do that. Good stuff, man. Really strong bike from him as well. Cool.
Yep.
All right.
And then Rob, the other
next?
couple. Well, I was going to say there were a couple more that we wanted to mention, didn't we? Was that Jackie Slack got silver in the World Cross, didn't she? And Emma Pallant got gold, and Jackie Slack bronze at the Aquathlon World Championships out in Penticton as well.
Great work, guys. Loving it. Right, let's go to the extreme end of the spectrum, Helen.
Let's do it. We've had him on the show before. It's Mr. Decker Dave Clamp of Great Britain, who...
Man's so great, they named him 10 times.
Yeah. So Decker Dave Clamp, was born in 1959. I'm just putting it out there.
How old does that make him, Helen?
Exactly.
Do the maths.
Well, 58.
58 years old.
Yep.
I don't
And
think we can even bring ourselves to.
honestly,
It's too terrifying, this, isn't it? So,
oh,
so we had Clumpy on. He'd done a decker Ironman, 10 Ironmans in 10 days. He'd done a double decker, hadn't he? Did he also do a triple decker? Or did he? He broke his collarbone, didn't he, a few weeks before one of the triples? Anyway, regardless, looking for a new challenge is the continuous decker Ironman. What's that here, you say? Well, we do it all in one go. So a 24-mile swim, a 1,800-kilometer bike ride, and then closing out with a 260-mile run, Helen. All continuous, sleep whenever you like, or not.
Yeah.
Just.
So we've got the results up, right? And usually, Rob, you might see 2 hours or something for a finish time.
Go on, read it out.
Well, this one, okay. So Decker Dave was second, right? The winner won the continuous decker in 213 hours, 44 minutes and 4 seconds. And the winner was Ferenc Sonyi of Hungary. And it's just mad, isn't it? So his swim time was 18 hours. T1 time, this would be total, wouldn't it? Was 17 minutes.
Yeah. I imagine you give yourself a sit down and a bowl of pasta at that point, don't you?
I think so.
Maybe a small snooze.
Oh, it's just incredible. Bike time was 103 hours.
As you do.
And run time was 92 hours.
And Dave's time, he did 16 hours 15 on the swim. He did 102 hours 59 on the bike. And he did 97 hours 41. Now, we had some updates, didn't we? Because people were following him on Twitter. Crippling foot blisters and all kinds of stuff. So, what was the differential in the end then? There wasn't much in it, was there?
4 hours.
3.5 hours.
Yeah.
It's really not much, is it? I'm looking down. The guy in fourth, he had 6 hours in transition after the swim. That's a good old transition, isn't it?
That's the total time, isn't it? It's got to be total over the 10.
What do you mean?
So maybe
they do the whole swim, and then they do a T1, and then they do the whole bike ride.
Oh yeah.
So it's,
No,
snooze.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's just, Rob. It's amazing. Oh yeah. I see what you mean. Someone else had a 2-hour transition.
And that's cost him third place overall.
Yeah.
Oh, not quite actually, but still, you never know, do you? Mind you, I suppose after 16 hours in the water, you've earned to lie down, haven't you? Who am I to criticise?
A little bit, man. So Dave was second, and then Laurent Guinet of France was third. And I think, Rob, I'm right in saying was there one female finisher or two?
I think
I'm a little bit confused.
I can see 2 down at the bottom. I can see
Alexandra Meichner of Austria in 244 hours.
And then Shanda Hill was first in... Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to go with Alexandra.
Yeah. Apologies if we've got that wrong. But I'll tell you what, hats off to anybody who's attempted that.
Oh, totally. It's not one for me.
It kind of puts everything else into perspective, doesn't it, really? 100-hour run at the end of an Ironman. 100-hour run. I'm a bit speechless, as you can possibly tell. It's difficult for me to get my head around this one. Right, we're going to hunt Clampy down when he gets back, and we'll have a chat about that, because I literally can't get my head around that.
No, I can't. Struggling. My head's only small, Rob. So, and round of applause. Seriously, round of applause for everybody.
Well done to everybody who did that.
Continuous decker. Wowzers. Rob, shall we crack on?
Let's do it. Let's jump over to Coach's Couch, shall we?
Yes. Okay. So the question has come in from Dr. Chris Taylor, and Dr. Chris Taylor asks us at OA Tri Podcast on Twitter. Right. What is the best way to organise drinks, nutrition and tools on the bike for long course? Between bars, on the frame, behind the saddle? basically, how do I fit everything on without my lovely aero TT bike starting to look like a game of Buckaroo? I love that question.
It is. It's great, isn't it? And I always love those articles that you see. You see them at every race, and there's like somebody who's sellotaped a baguette to the top tube, and there's somebody with a banana taped to the top tube, and there's people with 27 gels lined up so they can pull them off one by one, and
Oh yeah,
and
well
a bag
we
of
did
sandwiches
actually.
between the handlebars and things like that.
Well, we did actually get a few photos sent to us because we sort of put it out there on Twitter, and Mr. Geno sent us a photo of someone coming out of T2 at Ironman UK with a butty in his right hand and a bag of crisps in his left hand. Love that. Alex Bradley sent us a picture of a nice TT bike, looking very, very aero, apart from, I could count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, probably about 15 gels on the top tube. And then Kit Walker did get in touch, and he says that he puts all of his gels in the aero bottle on the down tube. He's got his hydration on-course bottle out the back, and then he puts his flat kit and spares taped under the saddle. Job done.
There you go. Well, I think Kit makes a good starting point, doesn't he? Because he's at one end of the spectrum. He's somebody that I think a lot of people are going to aspire to. We want to go fast. We've spent money on an aerodynamic bike and fast wheels and a skin suit, and we don't want to be putting loads of stuff all over it. And I think this is the kind of angle Chris is coming at with this question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you got a nice TT bike, and obviously you don't want to blow the aerodynamics of it by having things taped all over it. So I think Kit's way of doing this is really good. But it's worth pointing out that there's lots of different ways to skin the cat with this one. So Kit's idea of having loads of gels in a bottle on your bike works really well for some people, and if you're going to do it, try it in training, and if it works for you, brilliant, job done. Because you've got to remember there's stuff available on the course as well, and if that works for you, whatever the brand is, then great. I mean, I think everybody can pretty much stomach half a banana a few times when they're on the way round. Plus you pick up a few gels from the aid stations. As long as you've tried them in training, you're a lot of the way of there to covering your nutrition needs right there. Kit's way of putting loads of gels into a bottle. From the experiments that we've done, we know you can get, of certain brands of gel, you can get 11 or 12 gels into a normal size bottle mixed up with a bit of water, and you can just take a glug of that every half an hour. That's loads of energy right there. And then he mentioned having a hydration bottle behind the saddle on the bike, which I think is a really good way to hide it there out the wind as well. And the reason it works so well in big long course races is there's aid stations. In the big races, there's aid stations every 10 or 20 kilometers, right? So you're picking up a bottle certainly less than every hour. So you've got two ways you can do it. You can have your hydration bottle with sort of extra strength electrolytes in it. So the precision hydration, get loads of that in there and keep that as your electrolyte bottle. And then get a water bottle as you go through the aid station. Slow yourself down, obviously. Get 3 or 4 or 5 great big gulps out of that water bottle so you can drink about half of it, and discard the water bottle while you're still in the aid station. So you've managed to get probably 300 mils of water in, and if you do that at every aid station, that's going to cover a lot of your hydration needs as well. The other option is to dump the bottle off the back at the appropriate aid station and put a fresh one in. There's still often enough, aren't they, that you can replace that single bottle and still have drinks all the way around, of course, depending on how far it is between the aid stations.
Yep. And Rob, can I put something out there as well?
Yeah, go for it.
So in some of the bigger races, you can use your special needs bag. So I did that at Bolton last year, and I had bottles with what I knew was going to be in them in my special needs bag. So you get to the special needs station, and there was one on each lap, and they're kind of there ready with your bag, and I swapped out and swapped in, and then I knew kind of what I was getting and what was in there and everything like that. So as you say, there are many, many different ways. I think when I did my first one, I had a hydration bottle on the front. So you have lots of, like the speed fill bottles, and you see a lot of pros with them as well, don't you? So they're really easy to fill up on the go. But it depends also how your bike is actually set up, because some of them don't, I don't know, certain brands might not necessarily fit with your aero bars are quite narrow. I had that problem. My aero bars are quite narrow, so I couldn't quite get that on. I'm sure I could probably get another brand, but it depends how much money you want to spend, doesn't it? So yeah, many options.
Yeah. I personally go with, I've got a bottle cage between the aero bars, and I think actually it makes the bike more aerodynamic to have a bottle between the aero bars there. It's hidden by your hands and it blocks that little section off in the middle. So you've got a bottle cage there, you can stick any bottle in or out that they're handing out on the course. I've got another one behind the saddle. Then like kit, I've got a couple of CO2s taped underneath the saddle, wedged in there with a bit of foam, and they're taped in with electrical tape. I've got tyre levers taped underneath the saddle as well. And then I've got my spare tube on the stem, which is hidden from the wind by the little aero bottle that's there. So it just gets stuff out of the way. Coming back to the thing you said about your special needs bag, I think a great tip is to put a spare tube with a CO2 canister taped to it in your special needs bag. And then if you need it, because you're flattered, you can pick it up and then you've got another tube. If you don't need it, you leave it there, and it's not the greatest financial loss, is it? An inner tube and a CO2 canister at the end of the day. But it means you've got a backup if it all goes wrong. And I've even heard of people, Helen, having their friends have a CO2 and a tube like that in their handbag as they're supporting, just in case. I know that's illegal, so I would say...
I'd say don't do that, because you're not allowed.
Don't get caught doing that.
Don't do it.
I've heard of people doing that.
That's not wise.
Well, if it's that or not finish the race, it's always there as an option, isn't it? I've heard of people having lots of sun cream on their hand and high-fiving their friend as they go by.
Interesting.
Interesting, yeah. You can take outside assistance too far. It's not putting a motor in the down tube, is it? You just want to get to the finish line. Oh, man. So there we go. Right. That's Coach's Couch. If you've got any more questions, you can fire them over to help@oxygenaddict.com. Team Oxygen Addict is open for entries at the moment, open for applications. So head on over to team.oxygenaddict.com and you might just be able to beat the price increase that's going on for next season if you're quick. And there we go. Right, Hals, we have got an amazing interview this week, haven't we?
You did it, didn't you?
Something a little bit out of the ordinary. We've got there's lots of that SwimRun stuff going on at the moment, and the original Otello race, which I'm sure I haven't pronounced correctly, is taking place this weekend coming up. So we have got Ben and Rhian Martin, who are Britain's leading mixed pairs SwimRun team, on to give you guys basically a bit of a how to get into the sport if you're not into it. Loads of tips about kit and equipment and training, and to talk through the race itself. So yeah, really cool interview with them. And let's hand us over to the interview now. Ben and Rhian, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you both on. And it's really going to be interesting, I think, for our listeners to find out how Otello is done at the very top level. And I mean, I've got 1,000,001 questions to ask you guys about how you even go about the logistics of a sport like this. So for people who haven't heard of you guys, tell us a little bit about your recent results and your sort of entry into the Otello SwimRun world of racing.
Okay, this is Rhian. Previously, I was elite level triathlete for Great Britain when I was younger, but then having had a family, having had a career in banking, sport became more for fitness. Then a few years back, we found an event at Eton Dorney Lake, which was an Otello Sprint Series lake, which was a small swim run event organised by VO2, by a couple of my old friends from Bath University, Andy Blow and Elliot Trolleyflower. So we decided to enter it because it was just down the road. We ended up winning that sprint event, and then we ended up winning the series, which gave us a ticket into the Otello World Series.
Brilliant.
So we decided to enter the Switzerland Engadin World Series to see what it was all about. And wow, it was tough and an eye-opening experience, but an amazing one, which got us hooked. We came fifth in our first race, and from there we we wanted to qualify for the World Championships. We did qualify last year, though unfortunately we had to pull out because of injury. Ben had a glute injury, but now this year we then went to Germany and we podiumed in the World Series event there, which qualified us for the World Championship in 2 weeks' time. But we've also backed that up with a podium position in the World Series at the Isle of Scilly. So my background's triathlon, whereas Ben's background's more swimming.
So husband and wife team racing together. I mean, that throws up some interesting challenges just by itself, I'd imagine, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hey, Rob. Ben here.
Hi, Ben.
It does, and it doesn't, to be honest. There's not many husband and wife teams. I think there's a couple of people who come to a number of the races, but in reality, we share common beliefs. We talk a lot about the race. We understand each other's weaknesses very well, and each other's strengths very well. So we see it as a benefit, actually. We can always train together. We can push each other in training. And Otello is really about a partnership and a team, which really brought us to the sport. So doing it husband and wife, I don't think it gets any better than that, really, because you just don't want to let your team partner down. So for us, it's an added benefit, but it's something we're quite good at, and we enjoy that aspect as well.
It's quite funny, though. Quite a lot of people do ask us, how does that affect your relationship?
Yeah.
Actually, I think it strengthened our relationship.
Interesting. You managed to get even stronger through the training and racing together. That's great.
Yes, and we've got 2 young children as well, so we manage that between us. They're the priority, but we manage our training around them. Gotcha.
Okay. So the thing that maybe people don't realise is quite the magnitude of the event in Sweden. The Otello World Championships, if you like, was the original event in Sweden. Talk us through kind of how that event's going to play out on race day, the distances involved and the way it's broken up and things like that a little bit.
Yeah, so it was originally run in 2002, a drunken bet between a number of people, and Mats and Michael, who did that drunken bet, are still the main organisers of the event. It's run in Sweden, just outside Stockholm. Essentially, it's 75 kilometres in total, which is a A to B race. But there are in total 65k of running, trail running, and then about 10k of swimming. But it's not a straight 10k swim and then a straight 65k run. It's broken up into running across a bit of land, swimming across the water to the next island, running across that island, and then doing that 26 different times. So the longest run is actually about 19k. But then the second longest run is probably less than 10k. The longest swim is about 2k. But equally, the shortest swim is about 100 meters. So it's sporadic and different events. So it's not just one block of running and one block of swimming. It's really broken up into really challenging terrain. And literally nothing is the same. You can do an event one year and do an event the next year. But the weather and the terrain and the sea, the wind, the temperature, the altitude often can be very different, and that's what makes it so interesting.
And don't forget that you have to take your kit from A to B, so you're swimming in your trainers and running in your wetsuit.
Well, this was the next thing I was going to come on to, but I wanted to just go back for 1 second. Did you say, was it 26 different islands you run and swim across?
Yes. So, yeah, It's 26 islands. You run over an island, swim to the next one, run over an island, swim to the next one. 26 times.
I love it. Brilliantly bonkers.
Yeah. So, transitions are really important. I'm sure we'll come on to that later. But if you're losing 30 seconds against the pros in every single transition, then you've got to times that by 26 ins and 26 outs. So, we really practice those.
Yeah. So you alluded to what was going to be my next question, which was you've got to take all your stuff with you, and obviously you're not going to be wanting to get into and out of a wetsuit 26 different times. So you end up running in your wetsuit. And do you actually swim in your trainers on all of them as well?
Yes. So SwimRun has now developed so much. There's a lot of specialist kit out there. We we work with Zone 3, who have a SwimRun specific wetsuit, which is a shorty wetsuit, and it has a zip down the front. It also has pockets in, so you can carry things like your compass, your whistle, your food, if you want to carry food on the way around. And then it also has calf guards to give you buoyancy, because you need to wear trainers when you're swimming. And we wear, again, SwimRun specific trainers, Innovate's 212s, because they're light and they drain quickly. So at the top end, there is very specific kit, and it is worthwhile spending money on that kit. But when you're entry into the sport, you can get away with things like cutting an old wetsuit and wearing running flats.
Yeah. Because that was the thing that got me. I can see, although I imagine there's a fairly large amount of discomfort running so far inside a wetsuit, but the idea of swimming in trainers is just, it just seemed incredibly difficult. Is that just what you do? You literally just jump in your trainers and off you go?
Yeah, I mean, you're not far away from that. So we tried different trainers, and we really love the Innovates because they're light. But what we also do is have a pull buoy, just pretty much a regular pull buoy, which we kind of tape to one inside of a leg, which creates the buoyancy, because your trainers do get heavy when they get wet, and that really affects your swim position. The wetsuit is buoyant or provides buoyancy, but ultimately you are going to be swimming a fair bit slower when you're in your trainers, even though you might be fully kitted up and you might have paddles on. You can use flippers. The rule, I think, now is they have to be no longer than 10 centimetres past your toes, so you can't go with massive diving fins. But you've got to carry these flippers. So if you want to run 65 kilometres with flippers, you've got to really make sure they're going to be fast in the water. And then it comes into transitions in terms of taking your kit on and taking your kit off. So, for us, the kit is really important. But then what I would say to anybody is that practicing in that kit is vitally important. Understanding who's the best swimmer, perhaps, between the two. And so that person always leads, to see if you can slipstream behind each other, because that gives you a huge advantage for the second person. So it's all about finding your strengths and the weaknesses, and then playing to the comparative strengths on those. But to answer your question, yeah, it is very hard swimming in trainers.
Yeah, it sounds it. And are you allowed to sort of tow the other swimmer behind you if there's a big disparity, or do you just have to get on with swimming and
Yeah. I mean, there's very few rules to it. You can tow, and we do.
I like that. I like there's not very many rules. It's the opposite of triathlon in that respect.
It is. Yeah. It is the opposite of triathlon, which is why we love it. And just to go away for a minute, but the Otello brand is about unique races and unique places, and they totally deliver on that. But again, to answer your question, we do have a tow rope, but it's not really a tow rope. One of the rules that they do enforce actually is that you have to be within 10 meters of each other throughout the entire race. And we have seen teams be taken out the race because they're not within 10 meters. Now, I think that's a safety point of view, because these races are dangerous. You're in some pretty harsh swimming conditions. So we use the rope mainly to make sure that we're together, so the lead swimmer doesn't have to worry about where the second swimmer is. But also the benefits of the slipstream I've talked about are really massive when you get into a good swimming routine, and you and your partner know exactly what the individual roles are within that team.
Okay. And then in terms of the practicalities of running, you mentioned the longest run is sort of 19 kilometres. Do you just keep the wetsuit on for the whole of that time? Do you strip it down around your waist, and if so, do you get really hot as you're running in those conditions?
Yes, there's something which in SwimRun is called tabbing down, where you take your wetsuit off halfway and tie it around your waist, because you're right, running in a wetsuit does get really hot. When we were in the Isle of Scilly this year, temperatures were about 28 degrees, so running in your wetsuit can potentially get quite dangerous. So it is worthwhile tabbing down.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to. You can decide what you do, but after 2 or 3K, you can start to feel yourself go when it's really, really hot. And we actually wear zone 3 kind of rash vests, which are 3mm neoprene vests, because it's cold in the water. A lot of the swimmers are very cold. So you go from extreme cold to 28 degrees and running and going up a mountain. So getting that cooling down effect by taking your wetsuit off is vitally important. Yeah. And you can lose minutes by not doing that. So it's worth sometimes just taking 30 seconds out your run to take the wetsuits down.
Yeah, of course. Now, and you alluded earlier on to the idea of having to carry all your stuff with you. In terms of like drinks and food and fueling, presumably you're out there for like 65 k's of running and 10k swimming. It's a long old day, isn't it? Sort of Ironman kind of times. How do you go about even carrying any nutrition and hydration with you on those events?
So you're absolutely right. Nutrition and hydration is vitally important to doing well in these events and even completing these events. On the hydration side, we are now very lucky because Precision Hydration are one of the main sponsors, and they provide electrolytes at each of the 8 aid stations. So Precision Hydration was founded by Andy Blow, one of my Bath University triathlon colleagues, and they want to make it's what we were using anyway. So when they decided to sponsor Otello, that helped us massively. So because previously we were carrying their salt tablets to make sure that when we were sweating in our wetsuits, that our electrolytes were being replenished. On the fuel side, there are aid stations. However, then energy stations. On them, there's lots of real foods like cinnamon buns and cakes and dried fruits, seeds, which is not what we would like to take on board when we are racing that hard. So we actually work with Talk Energy, and we carry a lot of our own gels with us to supplement some of the bananas and the Precision Hydration that we can take on board at the aid stations.
Nice for you guys then that it's already provided for you in terms of the pH at the stations now. I'd imagine that'll be crucial actually, and loads of people will be grateful for the fact they don't have to like carry salt tabs and stuff around with them during the race. That would be a nightmare.
You haven't got much room in your wetsuit. So
yeah, totally.
You don't want to be carrying extra things, but electrolytes are so important that before they sponsored them last year in Switzerland, we were carrying salt capsules with us.
Yeah, like the blister caps.
And to go back to the rules, pretty much the only other 2 rules are that you are never allowed to take any kind of gift or literally anything from anybody in who might be spectating. So, again, we've seen people, I think they came second in one event, disqualified for taking some bars off people who weren't official energy stations.
Okay.
And then the other rule is, which we really respect actually, it's a great rule, you're not allowed to litter or trash at all. The Otello guys are really keen on preserving the environment because we race through some spectacular scenery and parks and national parks as well. So they are really strict on a no trash rule, which is great because you're racing through the wildlife that you would never normally see.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely amazing. What are your hopes? Let's take it to your racing sort of in person. What are your hopes for the race in Sweden this year? As we're recording, it's about 2 weeks, isn't it, before the official?
Yes.
I keep saying it incorrectly. I want to say Otello, but that's not how you're pronouncing it.
The Swedish pronounce it Otello.
I'm definitely not going to be able to get that.
Yeah. So, World Championships is on September the 4th, so 2 weeks today. We are currently ranked 5th in the world. We have podiumed a couple of times at the World Series. However, we have never gone this far before. The World Series events have been quite a bit short on the running. They've been, on average, about 35 to 40k running, not 65k. Yeah. And the swimming, we're very confident about. The running, we're a little bit more nervous about. So ultimately, CNN rank it as one of the toughest endurance events in the world. So ultimately finishing it is fantastic because you have to qualify to even get into the World Championships. Then secondly, try and get top 10. we will be very happy. I think we are one of possibly 2 British teams that have even qualified. So obviously we want to be first British team, and then if we can get top 10, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that there's still this element of it that even though you guys are, you've podiumed in the qualifying races and you're one of the best teams in Great Britain and even in the world, your first concern, it goes back to like the original days of Ironman. The first thing is, well, let's just make sure we cross the finish line first and actually get there,
Yeah, I mean, it sounds basic, but it's a nuts event. Anything can happen. There's a level of danger out there that I've never raced on before. So one slip of going across rocks, you can easily gash a knee, very easily turn an ankle, which happens a fair amount. They mark it as adventure racing. It is not something that you take lightly. So there is a good chance that we might not finish either through injury or mishap. Clearly, we've spent a lot of time training for it, and I think that's made our running much stronger. But every element of it carries a certain amount of danger, which can essentially finish your race. So that's why we were a bit hesitant on saying, yeah, we're definitely going to finish. It's just a question of time. The placing would be really, really good, but we're just keen to finish our first one. Make sure we don't blow up halfway. Make sure we don't gash ourselves on the rocks or scrape things that take us out of the race. So yeah, let's hope we do finish, and aspirationally top 10 would be amazing. We'll give it our all and just keep pushing. But there's quite a lot of running to do between the start and the finish.
Well, it's quite a lot of running to do full stop, isn't it? Like most people would enter their first ultra event and hope to finish it, let alone trying to do it in a wetsuit and swim in between 26 different islands. It's incredibly bonkers. I think it's just brilliant that you're doing it. And like I said, I love the fact that even though there's a chance you could win it or podium, you're not even sure you can finish yet. So that's just fantastic. Now, you mentioned a little bit earlier, not all the races are this long. How would somebody get into doing an event like this? What's the setup in terms of, obviously in triathlon terms, people get into it wanting to do an Ironman, but there's this, there's pool sprint Olympic, etc. What's the setup like in terms of getting people into their first event for SwimRun?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, I'd find your partner, find somebody that shares your views on training and racing, but equally is pretty much the same speed as you or you as they are for both of the disciplines. What is really welcoming now is that Otello organise sprint events as well as the longer distance events that we do. So pretty much recently every single event accompanies with a sprint event. And that can be typically about 10k of running and 3k of swimming, again with this format of in and out the water and running across the land, often mirroring some of the course that the longer distance World Series events may do. So we'd recommend that you have a look at the Otello website or even just Google SwimRun, because there are, I think, 400 events globally now which cater for the SwimRun series. They're all different brands. We certainly love the Otello brand. It's something we have got real affinity for, so we'll continue to race that brand. But in terms of getting into your first one, get the kit, either invest in it or cut down wetsuits that you've had before. Find a local event or an event that you might want to go to in a country that you may never been to before, and just get in there and try it. I think the sprint event format is a great way of really getting your understanding of the race and getting hooked. But equally, some of the longer distance events aren't that massive. They may be 7k of running, perhaps 30k.
No, you mean 7k
of swimming, 30k of running.
But you say that's not massive, but other people might.
True.
Yeah. The idea of 7k swimming for most people is fairly terrifying, Ben.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
It's just a morning workout for you, mate.
So just get involved, just try it, and it's something that most people try it, then do it again.
If you were getting into the sport in this country, in Great Britain, which event would you recommend people to try? Of all the ones you've done, which one would you recommend them to try for their first event?
We'll pick one each. You go first, Rhian.
Well, the Otello Isle of Scilly sprint race is fantastic. Not only is it an amazing race and well supported, the location is incredible. However, it can be a little difficult to get out to the Isles of Scilly. I've had good reports from the races, this Love SwimRun in Llanberis as well, which is a lot shorter event. Again, approximately 12k running and 3k swimming. So it depends whether you want to just do one locally or whether you want to actually experience the environment as well. If it's the environment as well, I would go out to the Isle of Scilly. But you could equally go to Wales. You could go to Loch Lomond in Scotland. You could go to
one of the lakes
in the Lake District, Brecca Swim Run. There's so many popping up now over the UK.
Cool. And how about you, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go sort of invest all that training that you put into it and you want to go somewhere special, our first event was Engadin in Switzerland, which just blew us away. The scenery was just stunning. I think that was probably bettered by the Isle of Scilly, but for our first event, that got us really hooked. So it's unique races and unique places. So go and look at the calendar, find a place that you really think is going to be interesting to race at and may well suit your skills, and pick that one. We tend to focus on races that have got more swimming because we're marginally better swimmers than we are runners. But equally, if your format is better running at swimming, then perhaps choose a course that is more weighted to running rather than swimming. So a lot of considerations. So sort of we'd recommend people to talk it through with your partner, work out what you can do, when you can do, and also I guess when you can do the training prior to the event, because to do well and to make sure you finish, you need to be physically fit to do it, and then get it booked in and start the training.
Well, that brings us around nicely to training, actually, which is one of the favourite things to ask people about. In terms of the training that you do, I'm guessing it's much more complex than just doing some running and doing some swimming. What kind of workouts do you do to specifically prepare for your races, and what would a typical training week look like for you?
So I'm a coach, so I plan what we do each week. We quite, because of our young children, we can't train together as much as we would like, but we try and get in a couple of swim run sessions where we're swimming open water, and we combine that with an off-road trail run. Then we also do quite a bit of trail running as well because of the terrain, up and down hills, rocks, wet surfaces. However, just because we're going long doesn't mean to say we don't do any speed work. We also combine with interval training, some track work in the pool. Today's session was a 2100 lactate tolerance set. So just because you're going long doesn't mean to say you just go out and run and swim. You take the factors that from triathlon training, combining the distance and the speed work, but then you also throw in some technical training by training with your partner, as much as you can to make sure you're trained specifically for this event.
Got you. So it's all about having a little bit more by the way of sort of race simulation stuff in the open water and going straight to a trail run, in addition to lots of running and lots of swimming as well. Yes.
So we do an open water session at a lake where we swim a K, run a K, swim a K, run a K, and repeat. So you're practicing the transitions, but you're also getting the endurance in.
Got you. Yeah. Brilliant stuff. Hey, well, listen, thank you both very much for joining us. We wish you all the best. By the time this airs, I think the race will actually have happened, so we'll know what the result is. But on behalf of all the listeners, very best of luck. We hope to see, firstly, that you get over the finish line. And secondly, who knows, you might be in that top 10 or even on the podium. So the very best of luck to you both.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.
Hells, I'm just not convinced about running in my wetsuit for 30 kilometres. You
should try it.
I'd have enough trouble getting from the car park into the lake. Going for a run in it.
But it's a shorter one, isn't it?
Yeah.
That makes it a little bit better. Honestly, try it.
Well, and this is the thing, isn't it? Get an old wetsuit, cut the arms and legs off and see how you feel. But I just feel like I'd be uncomfortable and extremely hot, and I wouldn't be able to get my wetsuit off and Swimming in train. I have enough trouble swimming.
You don't need to take the wetsuit off.
I think for the big races you do. You've got to strip it down to the waist, because otherwise you'd just cook. I'd be like
when you're running.
I'd be broiled chicken. Yeah. At Otello, I think there's a 21-kilometer section.
Oh,
so it's like stripped to the waist, and that's why their fancy wetsuits have got zips at the front these days, so you can do that as you go in.
Well, that's what's quite cool, that as it's become more popular, then lots of companies are jumping on board, aren't they, and suddenly designing specific shoes, specific wetsuits, specific kit. Whereas the originals would have just done it, as you say, in trainers which would have done the job kind of thing, and a wetsuit which would have not been specifically designed for the run, swim run.
Well, I think there's a lot of extremely hot and heat-injured people and dehydrated people. And actually, this would be a good time to plug Precision Hydration, because they're the official event hydration partners now for that very reason, because there were so many people so hot and dehydrated that they needed extra salt tabs out on the course. So they've now got them at the aid stations so that so people don't have to carry them with them anymore, which is really cool. Nice work, boys.
That is very, very cool. They say that I think, it's like literally they've only got a few days left now, haven't they, before they head out to the World Champs.
Yeah, I think the race is Saturday or Sunday. Can't remember. So best of luck, Ben and Rhian. Good on you. Best of luck. All right, mate. Bit of news action. We've had some babies born in the triathlon world this week.
We have. So let's start off. First of all, I don't know. I think little Stanley arrived first. So let's say congratulations to Gwen Jorgensen and her husband Pat, who have given. Well, Gwen has given birth to Stanley, the little boy, and Rob. He was 7 pounds, born on the 16th of August. But Rob, get this bit. He broke his collarbone during birth.
Oh. Well, you know what? That's a triathlete in training right there, isn't it? If he's going to be a cyclist later in his life, it's not going to be the last time that happens. So, oh, bless him. That's awful.
Yeah. So there we go. So that's little Stanley. Little Stanley. And then...
Get well soon, Stanley.
And then, Rinny and Timothy O'Donnell have also had their baby. So we spoke to Timothy, didn't we, a couple of months ago now. And, he's become a daddy. So
congratulations.
They have Isabel Grace O'Donnell.
Awesome stuff. Right? That, I think, Hells pretty much brings us to the end of our show for this week, doesn't it?
I think it pretty much does, Rob. Just 2 people got in touch with us, this evening, basically, because I saw it just before we press record. And John Eames said that he did his last long run yesterday, and now it's taper time for Wales with a recovery spin today. And Joe Spraggins also said that he had a big weekend of training. It's all done, starting to rest up now for Wales, hoping for less than 5 punctures this time.
Oh, bless him. I'm hoping to not see him in his Speedos as well, right?
Well, that's what I'm hoping, yeah. Joe, stick some clothes on, all right?
Stick some clothes on and appease the puncture fairies. That's what it is, mate. Oh, no, seriously, best of luck to everyone who's starting to taper down for Wales. Don't go mental in the taper phase. Don't do too much, because it's really easy at this point to start thinking, I'll just do an extra bit of training. Trust yourself. You've done enough. It's going to be all right. All right, cool. So let's wrap it up. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. You've been listening to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
Have a great training and racing week, and we shall speak to you again this time next week. Cheers, everyone.